Jean, Karen, and Mike. And please feel free to ask questions or anything else because that makes it more interesting. Now, this was a really hands-on one at the conference, so we will go as far as we possibly can with this. And I will maybe sometimes type something in and have you go out and look it up. But what we're talking about today are badges. And how many of you were either Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts? Anybody? Yeah, I mean, that's where most of our references are. And quite honestly, anytime I have to talk about badges, I have to give like that pause for anybody in the audience who just feels like they need to make a comment about Boy Scouts. And then there's also another famous quote about badges. Anybody know that? And can you type in what the other famous quote about badges is? And I'll ask you some more trivia questions on it. So anybody else know the famous badges quote? It goes something like, "We don't need no," or "I don't need no." And what it is I don't need no. Yes. I don't need no stinking badges. And it was a Humphrey Bogart movie, and it was The Treasure of Sierra Madre. So just to break that up a little, we'll start talking about badges and what they really are kind of like now. So, like I said, this is what most people think of with badges. And if you are in Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, or even if I have an Eagle Scout here, badges really meant something. And if you take a look at this tells exactly how everything's supposed to be arranged, which badges get put where, which ones make a difference. And they've been very elaborate, and badges have always been symbols. And if you were a Girl Scout or a Boy Scout, especially depending on what kind of troop you were in, people seriously spent a lot of time making sure that you did exactly what the badge said you were supposed to do. And then they'd fill out paperwork, and it gets sent in to the national office, and then the national office would approve it, and then you get your Girl Scout or your Boy Scout badge. So there really was an assessment there. You know, there was an assessment, there was a person doing that assessing, and there was an accrediting body when it came to it. So with badges, usually what we think about is they're usually some sort of graphic representation of mastery and demonstrated skill or mastery. And then this is another one, and I don't know about you, but when I was in the Girl Scouts, my troop did design their own badge. For some reason, we wanted to do volleyball, so we ended up designing our own volleyball badge. So even way back when, there was a chance that you could go ahead and you could design your own badge. And these days, where you're seeing this design your own badge is really coming out of Mozilla. And when I say Mozilla, I don't mean Firefox. What I mean is the Mozilla Open Foundation. Now, the people who created Mozilla also then donated a huge amount of money for open projects for the internet. And one of these that they've been investing in, and that they actually have a lot of their employees, and yes, the Mozilla Open Foundation does have employees that has them working on, are open badges. And this idea from open badges actually came from something called OpenStack. Let me just pull up a screen here. And yes, I stole it from them. Now, they don't have it. Now, OpenStack is if anybody starts talking about where have badges come from. And and how badges are getting credibility on an academic level and also on a professional level. It really comes from OpenStack. And like a lot of things I'm going to tell you to do, I just have a screenshot here. So why don't you guys go ahead and Google OpenStack and badges. And I'll talk a little while you're doing that, and because I know all of you guys are multitasking anyway, why don't you go ahead and take a look there, and I'll talk a little bit about what some of these are. Now, everybody here teaches online, and we all know about discussions, and we all know about it might be take a little bit to get students to be motivated to participate in discussions. I mean, we do a lot of things, right? We write up the discussion, we put links there, we put videos. I know with Erin being there, I know that there's going to be some kind of digital image there too. You know, something to make it pop, something to get their attention. And then we usually we also give the students a rubric and tell them exactly when they should be posting, and also talking about where they should be posting, how often, and things like that. But the thing about it is, out in what we call the real world, or the professional world, or the industry, whatever you want to call it, there's something sitting out there that's called OpenStack. And OpenStack is really for computer science professionals. And what it is, it's really this huge FAQ and discussion board where professionals in the industry, and this is mainly coders, will go in and they will post questions. And other programmers will go in and answer those questions. Well, to get the community like really engaged in this, what they did was they developed, and they're calling it a badge system. But take a look at what's up on the screen. If you're not scrolling around at the other things right now, look at some of these really cool badges. And think about your own online classes. And if you guys could type for me in the chat or in Q&A, I don't care which, I have both up. Why don't you guys just put in there what subject you teach? And I know what of the subjects that some of you teach, but I think there's 2 people whose subject I do not know. So why don't you go ahead and put that up there.
To let you guys know, for those people who are putting them in the chat, we've got Brian's teaching geography, Karen Coyle's teaching interpersonal communication, Mike Madsen teaches astronomy. So just in case not all of you can see those answers, that's what we've got there.
Okay, that's cool, and that gives me a lot of ideas. Thanks. And I remember from Brian from last time, so that's really cool. And interpersonal communication. Now, Karen, when you do interpersonal communication, you're teaching online, but is any of the content based on anything that they would be doing, any kind of online communication? And if you can type that or anything like that, that would be great. Conflict management. Oh, interesting. Very, very interesting. And Erin, I already know what you teach. So if you take a look at these badges over here, and like I said, we'll get into more like what I consider the definition of badges and what other people do. But look, think about if you did this with your discussions. And I know your discussions are templated, but just think if the next time there was a course development, if you asked if there was something that could be developed that students could maybe get a badge. And by badge, all you get here for a badge is you get a little thing that says a gray box with autobiographer. Think about this. Think about autobiographer. Instead, if your autobiographer badge, depending on what subject matter you're teaching, is based on not how much did you complete all the user profile fields, but how much in depth you went into talking about whatever subject area you have. Because, I mean, think about it, and Sean put the multimedia one. it would be great for you if you just had, you might give them a little badge for filling out, you know, their intro really well. What if you had a little badge that had something like, oh, this person, guess what? They're already great in Photoshop. And I know that happens in multimedia a lot. In the intro to multimedia courses, that you have students who will already come in with a certain knowledge skill. And I mean, Mike, for astronomy, you know, you might have some amateur astronomers, you know, citizen scientists out there, and that might be a little badge that you give them so the other students have an idea that, oh yeah, so this person has a certain amount of knowledge when it comes to it. And conflict management, Karen, I can just think of different ideas about conflict management and what kind of badges you could give them something like that. Because look at these little badges, and you know, kind of to motivate your students to participate more. A citizen patrol, that means your students are going in discussions and you know, commenting and you know, they flagged a post, you know, maybe is important. Now look, civic duty, isn't that a cool one? Yes, exactly. And I'll be talking more about LinkedIn because LinkedIn has some actually interesting links to this. This community, OpenStack, is like LinkedIn. It is even better than LinkedIn for computer science people and programmers. People will put on their resume that they have a certain badge in OpenStack. Now, not really the ones I highlighted here. The ones that I took here were really based on ones that I thought could be useful in just about any online class. But depending on whether you've gone in and you've answered like difficult questions on coding, you might actually be listing this badge you have in OpenStack on LinkedIn. So I mean, when you look at this, think about what you might be able to give to your students. Your students might get, you know, a little commentator badge because they did their first, you know, 10 comments. Maybe you'll give them a badge for being the first one to post during that discussion. And then, look, discipline. Well, they can't delete. Maybe disciplined is, you know, there is a component in D2L that will let students put things up and down. And again, with CCC Online, the place to get this in is really during the course development process, where when you get the chance to make the comments, when you're brought in, whether you're the course developer or you're being brought in as one of the stakeholders in that subject area, this is the place to insert these things. You know, enlightened, enthusiasts, stuff like that. So, I mean, this is one of the ways badges can be used, and they're really great. And straight out of instructional design is that in instructional design, there's something called the ARCS model. You get their attention, you make it relevant, you give them confidence that they can succeed, and you let them know that and then they succeed at the end. I mean, badges are an attention getter, and also, depending on your subject matter area, you could start talking about relevance. And I mean, like all the great citizen science stuff that's going on with astronomy and all the great astronomy groups out there, I can really see that you not only teaching astronomy, but teaching students how to be involved in online astronomy communities, just letting them know what's out there and having them like model good participation, even in a class. So I'm going to show you this page real quick. And this page, I'm just showing you this. It's because of one of my colleagues who's another instructional designer, John Giesel at Front Range Community College. Now, when I was showing him about OpenStack, he went, okay, I do something like that. And John, prior to getting his job as an instructional designer, was a wedding photographer. Now, there's a wedding photographer association out there that does something very similar to the badges, and you get voted up or down depending on how you have participated, and there's badges that come along with that. And this is an association that John, when he was doing that work, really relied on to learn about the latest techniques and also because the field he was in, not investing in equipment that turned out to be, not so good because, because the manufacturer, the marketing department, and they always hype it up. This is where he went to find out, is it worth me investing in this? Can I look up and see what practices other people are doing? So if you're using badges, you're also teaching your students a digital literacy component. And you can tie it, depending on your subject matter area, you can tie this straight back to whatever online communities are associated with your area. And I know I keep going back to astronomy, and it's just because you have a teacher at Front Range who does a lot of astronomy and scientist stuff. But in all of your areas, there's going to be something that does that. And I know Erin teaches art and the art history, and art history. And so the community there's definitely tiebacks that you can have there. And you'd also be teaching them these kind of digital literacy skills of how to make yourself known to an online community and a greater professional community at large. Okay, so now what I'm going to show you is now, while I'm talking about badges, the legitimacy, the Mozilla Open Badge Foundation has been doing a lot with them over the past 3 or 4 years, but the legitimacy for badges, and if you ever have to talk to any of your colleagues and they do one of those bad quotes that I talked about, what you're going to want to do is refer to the MacArthur Foundation. And the MacArthur Foundation has just finished up a 2-year project on digital media learning and badges. And really what they've gone ahead and done is they funded about 50 projects for about over $5 million. And I'll be showing you and having you look a little bit about these, look a little at these projects. So it's out of the program that they call it HASTAC, but they pronounce it Haystack. And what Haystack did was Duke University, Mozilla, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and a couple others all sponsored this competition. And with this competition, they looked for a series of badges that could be presented and that could be used either educationally or could go ahead and be used professionally. So whenever I'm talking about this and whenever you have to bring some legitimacy to it, it's MacArthur. There are MacArthur Foundation badges. Google it and you'll find it. Now, another place where badges are showing up is Purdue University. And I'm going to ask you guys, were any of you guys involved in the early alert pilot project called Signals? Did any of you have that in your courses? Now that was something about a year or so ago. Okay, cool. About a year or so ago, where the system was testing out an early alert, and it got put into your D2L courses, and it would show up in a widget, and students would see, basically they would get a metric of how well they did, and it was, yellow, and it was green, yellow, red, and the instructors would be involved in putting in that information and having it automatically show up on the students. Okay, now that's just one project. And the reason I'm mentioning that project is because Purdue University actually has an educational technology incubator. So projects are just popping up from Purdue University left and right. And the reason why is because they have an incubator. And when I say an incubator, I mean a business incubator where they're allowing faculty to develop projects and then take those projects and they have a place where they can be kind of nurtured, money can be invested, and then if it works out, then it's an agreement between the professors who do it and the university. But Signals was one of those projects. It's also a way to get these things out there. So what they've done now is something that they call Passport. And the passport, and if you look at the slide, it says that it's accepting test pilot applications. I do know that one of your associate deans, he put in for it. He had to wait a long time, like 3 months before they contacted him back. But I know that there should be at least one class at CCC Online that is just going to kind of pilot this through discussions. Now, the thing about Passport is you don't have to belong to their LMS system, but instead what students end up getting is that if you award them a badge, they get this little link and then you can drop in discussions so that they can know that they got this badge. And what Purdue University is doing is they're overlaying this into their LMS. So besides grades that the students can get, they're following a regular syllabus and everything else, is that faculty can actually go into their Passport system and they can go ahead and pick one of the preset badges already. They can name it whatever they want. And then what they can do is then they go ahead and they can give it to the students depending on what it was. So all those things that we looked at OpenStack, like contributor and civic patrol and stuff like that, using this Passport system, all of these things can go ahead and they can go ahead and be applied. So I wanted to give you an example of someone who is already using it, and Purdue's using it, and we've had one faculty member in elementary education and ECE who, out of the Boulder campus, she got into this pilot project and she used it too. We also have another of our instructors up in who's doing the Clean Energy Grant, and she is also using that. So we've had 2 people piloting it at Front Range. I mean, we don't have any plans to open it up broad or anything like that, but just to let you know that there's a couple community college instructors who have been trying it. Now this next one, DIY.org. Now this is where you guys get to go and explore a little bit, and I am going to post this in chat. So it'll show up in chat, and what the hey, I will go ahead and I will also, I cannot post it in questions and answers. So it's been posted in chat. It's really, really easy. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is go ahead and go to that link and pull it up on your screen. And then when it says join or explore, go ahead and click on explore. And the next page that comes out, the left, it's no, not a broken link. Okay. Okay, unless it has died in the last 10 minutes, I will go back and check. You know what? I did. I saw the same thing. You're right. At this very second, it might have gone down. Let me log in just one more time and see. You're right. Right during I think it broke. So instead, I'm going to tell you a lot about it. So we'll click through the screen. Okay, so what it is, it's DIY, and it's really easy to find. It's at https://diy.org. What it is, for me, when I'm showing faculty about badges, this is where I bring them. And the reason why I bring them to DIY.org, it is really for middle schoolers. Do not let that deter you whatsoever. What I have them then do is I have them go ahead and I have them click on Explore. And what shows up is all of these wonderful badges. And they're done in these fun colors and these fun different ways. And they all give them different titles. Now, there is an astronomer badge, I can tell you that. But then there's another one. Oh, Jane, you're in. Excellent. Excellent. Then we're all going to try again, including me. Because looking at this for yourself makes a huge difference other than me just saying it. I am getting that it's broken also, but let me hit like /explore after it and see if I get something better. Still got that. Ooh, Jane, you're getting a good note or something like that that the rest of us aren't getting. So, Jane, we might ask you. Okay, so DIY.org. Here's the thing. There's all these different really fun, like I said, it's for middle school, but at the same point in time, there's always something fun in your subject area that you could pick and make it sounding like a profession and then give a badge. Now, if we were able to go on to the screen, what we would see is that each of these badges come with this great actual digital badge, and then it gives anywhere from 10 to 12 activities that you have to do to earn this badge. And I know that sounds a lot like a module, and it is, okay? But the thing of it is, what they do is they chunk them down, make them very discrete tasks, and then have the kids come back and do them. And one of my favorite that they actually have here is something, oh, good idea. Excellent. Anybody else? Because if you guys can get it, then I'm gonna have you guys take a look. So go ahead and take a look in there and pick a badge and come back. Oh, okay. And I'm doing Firefox, so yeah, I will go back. So I'm going to ask everybody to go to that and go find a badge. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Go find a badge, your favorite looking badge there, and then I will have you come back to tell me what your favorite is. And yeah, wouldn't you know, the day we were talking about open badge projects in Mozilla's having Firefox is having problems. So go find your badge. Because I have a favorite badge, but I will let you guys go ahead and find your own. And you might go on the nav bar, look at skills, if you're not finding it right away.
And for anybody who wasn't in there before, it sounds like it wasn't working in Firefox for some of us, but it's working for Mike in Internet Explorer. It is working for me in Safari.
Cool.
So if you have another browser that you want to try, that might be a good idea.
So go ahead and take a look at some of those badges. And especially, I mean, go look and see what your favorite one is, but if your favorite one, it would be different than one that you could possibly use in your class, you know, then come back to us with 2. My Lego tie, yes, exactly. Okay, I'll share with you my favorite. This is my favorite. Rocketeer. Cool. Yeah, it is a closed circuit. Yeah, my second is magician, and it's more that I think that the way that they describe it, and I mean, yes, this is a very nerdy site, but it's fun, and think about the way of presenting this to your students. I mean, the thing of it is, you can chunk things out. You can still assess them at the end, but this is a fun way for you to go ahead and basically give them something that's engaging. And I know all of you guys can probably find one that's in, I mean, maybe not in your subject area, but I know there's something geeky like this that you can do. We have a physics class where the students can make a catapult as their project, and then we shoot pumpkins. I mean, you know, like it could be catapult or something like that. Now, the thing of it is, what I really love about this, if you go and look at it, it has aspects of really good instructional design in there. I mean, it picks a certain number of categories. I mean, it picks a certain number of things that they're going to do. You go ahead and you chunk it out there, and quite honestly, at the end, there's a close to it. At the end, you know you've succeeded. It's, you know, a grade's fine, but at the end of this, you get a badge, and you get this kitschy little thing that you can go ahead and use. And I mean, you know, for something like Erin's class, it might be they've experienced their first pottery wheel or something like that. I mean, we've already seen from Karen that the detective badge, yeah, a detective badge for geography. Brian, I'm sorry, I'm not great at geography, but I'm sure there is some kind of geeky quest that you could send them on that would make them hit upon lots of different points, and at the end, you know, that coming up with some kind of fun title when it comes to that. So for me, when I'm trying to explain about badges, it's going to DIY.org here and showing exactly how you can do things around that. And if you haven't noticed, a lot of times that things that they've asked students to do in DIY, it's not just text. You might have to take a picture to show it you've done. A lot of times it's make a video of how you've done this. So when it comes to designing for your courses, and when you get a chance to be involved.
It sounds like we may have lost Kay's audio there. Can everybody still hear me okay? Can you just hit your green check mark if you can hear my voice all right? Okay. We can fix that for you real quickly if you don't mind just bearing with us for a moment.
Okay, can you hear me? This is really bad because this is out of the other computer I have set up.
We can hear you. It sounds,
but I'll take it.
It sounds just as good here, so that's great.
Okay. Okay, so I guess what I was saying that you didn't hear, unfortunately, because it was brilliant. Trust me, it was so brilliant. Okay, my point that I was trying to talk about is that this is even a good site to go to look at if you need some inspiration if you're in the course development process, just to get some ideas. And if you're involved in that or giving feedback, you can look at these things. It doesn't mean that you have to have a badge for every module. You know, the badge, I mean, I think Karen had a great idea using it during that introductory week to, you know, just kind of drive engagement. Or who knows? I mean, look, every single one of us who teach gets a request at the end of the semester asking for extra credit. The deal of it is, why not make it fun for you too? Develop a couple badges like this for extra credit and have them ready to hand out as needed. So, like I said, so the thing of it is, this site is really about so you can get some inspiration and have some fun. And depending on your class, you know, coming up with a fun project and then doing it. And this is really something. Think about this. You don't have to do this on your own. I mean, during the CCC online conference, when your subject area group is meeting, brainstorm one maybe during the lunch during that conference. But think about how you can go ahead and have fun with that, because that part really does then end up showing up to students. And I know while we're badges and alternative assessment, and people don't necessarily like the word assessment, it sounds like tests and stuff like that, this is a form of assessment. And the end project, because maybe you're not making this like huge amount of points, might be a quick video, might be might be a picture showing whatever it is that they did. So just use this to kind of get creative. Okay, so the next one I'm going to show you is something that actually some of my friends have been involved in. And it was one of the ones from the MacArthur Foundation that was awarded. And it's called Planet Stewards. And this is what they did. It was out of Boise State. It was out of Boise State University, something called 3D Game Lab. And what they did was they got one of the MacArthur grants, and they developed badges that were then linked to, and they call them quests that students had to complete to do these badges. And their Planet Stewards, theirs was very focused. Theirs was focused on STEM, and theirs was focused on encouraging students to look at, get involved in the science, science, technology, engineering, and math. So theirs were very specific. But what they did was they did a series of ones that were designed to get students involved in this. And some of them, as you can see here, robotic engineer, very specific. Other ones, quick start. Quick start was, hey, you got in there and you started it really quick. Data explorer, a nice thing to get students, especially the sciences, involved with that stuff. And if you Google, and we won't do this now, but if you Google Planet Stewards, you can they did a really good job of showing the process of developing this stuff. And with all these things, you don't have to, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You're just looking to be creative and engaging and getting students to learn. So this is one that I did on my project, Game-Based Learning MOOC, and I will tell you about this. Even though I was teaching about game-based learning, I wasn't going to do badges, quite honestly, because it was for professional development, and I wasn't going to test anybody. But then I got a bunch of teachers in there and instructors who wanted to be assessed on whether or not they were learning the material. So I ended up doing 3 badges, and what I did was I had the faculty in the course go ahead and make an account with Mozilla Open Backpack, badges backpack. And then what I did was from the site, it's called pushing. I pushed the badges so that the badges, the actual graphic plus a link to the description would then show back in their open backpack. And the badges that I did was Brave Beginner, and that was for people, and as you can guess, that was the one with the apple, and that was for people who were just beginning and did a series of assignments. And these were some basic assignments that, you know, so they could get some credit for having delved into it. And then the second one, that's the same as our logo for the game group. That was a game-based learning track. That was very intensive, and that was very much, or you very much had to come out with a product by the end of our games MOOC. And then the third one was the networked educator, and the network educator one was one that you were going out on Twitter and you were tweeting things. You wrote a blog post. It was very much how much were you disseminating information about game-based learning to the greater network. So that was the one there. And like I said, at first I did not go into this. I did not go into teaching a MOOC on game-based learning going, hey, I'm going to assess them and they're going to get a certificate at it. Instead, as I was doing this, and I taught it 4 times, so I was able to, you know, do formative and summative evaluation. Sorry, that's the assessment one. But what I ended up doing here is they asked me for it. They were like, we want something. So we ended up doing badges. And they were great, the badges. Now, we've been talking about badges a lot. And here's just some of the basic definitions, because you should be getting an idea of this. If someone is calling it a digital badge, that is going to be linked back to some kind of accreditation or some certification, it usually means that it's an indicator of accomplishment, skill, quality, or interest in a learning environment. Like for the ones that I showed you now, accomplishment, skill, quality, or interest, my Brave Beginners, that would have been an interest badge, okay? Skill or quality, okay, my game-based learning one would have been accomplishment. I would say that the networked badge would be a skill badge. My badge for accomplishment would have been the game-based learning one because they had to have a product at the end. So the skill, and I wasn't testing how well they can produce how many of these, while the network badge was definitely skill, because they had to go in multiple platforms and demonstrate multiple times that they were able to do that. And I really didn't judge them on quality. But that's the thing, when you're thinking about it, if you are going to develop one, you could be looking for it to accomplish any of these things. And then there's another term that's being used, and it's called MicroCredentialing. And it's really funny because I know that some, especially in CTE, that there are some certificates that students that can earn. So think of that as macro credentials. While a badge is something that's very discrete. So think about that as micro-credentialing. I'm not saying you're getting an A in this course. You know, for Mike, I'm not saying you passed my astrophysics course. I'm just saying that you know the Milky Way pretty well, you know, or whatever the area is that you would be doing it. So micro-credentialing, just a small piece. Okay, now this is something that came out recently, and I'm just throwing this in here. This would not be something necessarily that you would do at CC Online, but just to wrap your head around if you were to start at the very beginning. If you were to start at the very beginning, this is a suggestion about digital badges in the classroom. There's something called Credly, and I'll be showing you that in a moment. And when I put the $150 annual fee, that is if they accredit you. but you can just go ahead and put your finger over the $150 fee. If you want to get started for free, you can go sign up at Credly. Credly is basically a site that is more than willing to send you that premium account. But even without that, you can have badges and you can share information with other instructors and things like that. What you'd also need to do a badge that would be going outward is that you'd have your own WordPress site, you'd have to have your own domain, and then you get a plugin, and that should be WordPress, not WordPress. But basically, this assignment here, that if I would give it to, and Sean might want to pipe in, this could be an assignment for a basic, for a very, very basic multimedia, or for a very, very basic web class. While it might not be something that you would normally do, if you have friends or kids or students who develop websites, this is, looking at this, they would go, oh yeah, that's easy. and then this next slide is Credly. And Credly's that site that I just told you about. It's a site where you can go ahead and you can issue a badge and give credit, not Carnegie Mellon in-seat credit, but credit for an accomplishment. Oh, and there, look, Understanding Astrophotography from the Smithsonian Conference. Ooh. Okay, so yes, something very discreet. And then this just popped up like less than a week ago. Okay, and it is showing up in the different online magazines for higher ed administrators. It's called Accreditrust. It's a new company that just popped up, and as you can read at the bottom, if open badges are going to be a valid alternative or even a replacement for transcripts, wouldn't it make sense for there to be an archive? Now, while the Mozilla's Open Badge project is very nice for you to send one out, I mean, if your site, your WordPress site, ever goes down, pretty much the information would be lost. This is a company that's coming out there and going, hey, we'll archive everything for you, and we'll keep it. Oh, and we happen to be owned by the LMS company, Canvas. So, so I just wanted to show you that Mozilla Open Backpack, although that's very much associated with the open source movement and open education and OER and open educational resources, when you look at this, you can see that somebody at least thinks that there's a business model where money can go ahead and be made with that. And that's the difference. Right now, with Mozilla is open badging. It allows anyone to issue, earn, and display badges across the web. And it has the infrastructure there. So I'm just letting you know about this. You can have a badge in your class. You never have to have it associated with any open badging infrastructure. These are just some of the options. And like I said, the Mozilla Open Badges is one of the places where you look at this. And I see time it is, so we'll keep moving. Now, we've been talking about things about badges. Now, for me, badges versus awards, I will just tell you my quick philosophy. You can use them however you want because, there is no accreditation place that's saying how you can use a badge or an award. Okay. The way that Moodle, which is another LMS out there, is using them is they're using badges, but they're using them more as awards to go ahead and gamify your learning. And I want to show you guys what I do. Okay, so of course I knew about OpenStack ahead of time. So in my game-based learning MOOC, where people learned about game-based learning, these were the awards I gave out. And I gave them out on a weekly basis. And I have fun with names, like Artisan. That was whoever put up the best screenshot. And Bard, that was the person who had the best blog post. And Cataclysmic, you had to be so outstanding. You had to do this outstanding or amazing post. Collaborator. This person was the person who was going in and giving lots of comments to other people and going, hey, I read what you said. Why don't you check out this link? Curator. This was the person who was putting all the links out there. DPS, that means damage per second. That, again, was a high performer. Evolutionary was something that I used. If somebody came on very slow but then got really much better, They got an evolutionary. They could win the evolutionary award. Fiero. Fiero is a sense of accomplishment. If the post said something about that, somebody had a great post about something like that, they won that award. Now, for me, I gave out weekly awards, and my course was 6 weeks. I gave out weekly awards, and then at the end of the course, I gave out a special overall. Now, the thing about them, the people in this course are your colleagues. So, people with master's and doctoral degrees. They were competing for these silly little awards. Don't let anybody tell you things like awards can't be engaging, because they did. Like the person who won BARD the one week, they're like, well, I want to post another blog post, because I don't want to give my BARD award to somebody else. And the thing about this, I had fun with the different names, but it's something that you could do too. Badges are great, and you can use them like OpenStack. But you could also think about awards. Now, for me, an award does not get given out to everyone. For me and my course, anyone can earn a badge. If you do it demonstrated mastery, you could get the badge. Now, the award, you had to be the best of whatever it was. And I did not give out every award each week, because guess what? Not every week did somebody have something that, did they write something that I considered cataclysmic. So during the weeks, I picked and chose. And that's something that you can think about if you would like to give out awards for, every week. I liked doing that. That doesn't mean you have to. But it might be in certain modules. Maybe it's a module that never got any kind of good discussion before. And if you want to give an award, tell them what constitutes that great discussion in that topic that nobody talks about. and you can just see if they'll go for it. It's something that you can try. And I'd say awards would probably, it's great if you can get them during course development, if you guys can figure out which ones you want and how they could be templated out. But awards might be that thing that you do in discussion. When you do discussions that week, you might type out something like, okay, and I will give an award out this week for the best, whatever it is. And it doesn't even have to, you can still use a discussion tool, but it doesn't have to be text. Maybe it is the best shot of, something geographic that you're looking for, Brian. I don't know, you would have to give me an example. But in a history class, I could see it something like, give me the best example of, in Colorado history, it could be the best example maybe of a Santa Fe mission style house. And everybody had, and you'd ask all your students to put it up, and you give out the award for what you consider the best. Now, I will tell you, with the awards, I would cheat. If I thought there would be more than one student who did something great, I'd make up a new award. It didn't bother me. But something like that is something you can consider. Collaborator, and again, I made up that word. It's not a word. Could be something that you could give out for your students who went into the most discussions and responded to people and continued the discussion and helped the other students. The Collaborator Award might show up in your questions and answers or your FAQ or your cafe thing. So just think about how these little symbols of accomplishment might be able to be used for motivation. And we have to end really quickly, so we'll be skipping over things. So here's just some examples. I just want to show you some examples of awards. This one, guess what? Graphically, not hard to go after at all. Another one, take a look at this. You can find some graphic. You can type something into Google that says make awards or make badges, and you can find something that's easy enough to fill out for this. Look, this is a ribbon across, so some different colored text. You could probably make this in Word. Oh, in fact, I know you can make something like this in Word. Okay, this is another example. I'm just showing this out here, so you can reuse this. I've reused this one for different things. just to let you have a peek. This is one that we use for our conference. This is CAMP, Teaching and Learning with Technology. Okay, then there's I'm throwing out some badges that you can take a look at real quick. Now these are some more involved ones. These are out of Boise State. So this one was for 3D Game Lab Teacher Camp. You know, it not only came with its badge, it came out with something cute, how many points you're going to get with it, and what the requirements are. So you can go like that. And then here's another one. We're so proud. This was math in World of Warcraft. Yes, the game, World of Warcraft. We did a badge for how to get math in that. Now, alternative assessments, because we were getting up. I'm just going to go quickly through these. Okay. What I'm just going to say is just think about this term because you're going to be hearing more of it. Competency-based. Okay, competency-based learning. The big school that's doing this is Southern New Hampshire University. They made it into Fast Companies like best companies for 2013. They are looking at competency-based degrees, direct assessment of learning. They are not badges, but boy, they're doing everything. They are not the digital representation of badges, but they're doing everything else. The Department of Education, U.S. Department of Education, is looking at this competency-based. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. It's so great to have a tie back. Southern New Hampshire University, their online program, it's currently the innovator when it comes to competency-based. It really is in the country, and they're pushing it forward. And the Department of Education, like I said, they're calling it flexible pathways to a degree, and they are looking at everything. So I just wanted to let you know that this is going to be coming up more and more. Now, another one you might be very familiar with is Western Governors University, and I just suppose the verbiage there, it's not very important. It's saying you will take tests, write papers, and complete assignments, but rather than focus on seat time or credit hours, we will make sure you graduate as a highly competent professional. They are looking much more at competency-based than our traditional grades and, in-seat hours. And I'm just throwing this out at you guys in case you want to learn more. Canvas, there was a Canvas course that is starting on the 27th. It's Badge 101, the discovery of badging. And you'll see who is sponsoring that. Yes, that's Accreditrust, that company that says that they will archive for badges. But it's out there in case you guys are really interested in this. The other thing I wanted to say, there was a MOOC already on open badges. It is simply called, it was done through Blackboard and called Badges, New Currency for Professional Credentials. It is out there again, great place to find resources. As I'm going through this fast haystack back to the MacArthur Foundation, they did commission, there's an annotated bibliography out there in case you have to pull up any literature for it. And last but not least, because we are ending up now, is in some way, shape, or form at Front Range, we're going to have a Badge of Palooza in spring 2014. I've already done some focus groups with our CTE instructors to find out what they're looking at when it comes to badges and what they might be interested in seeing. And basically, that is the end. And we are right at 2 o'clock. So I'll take questions, but I don't want to keep you people if you'd like to go.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that, Kay. And yeah, like she said, if you do need to go, you're welcome to do that. But we'll be happy to stick around for a few minutes if you have any questions that you can think of. And if you do, if you don't mind putting those in the Q&A panel, which is a separate panel from the chat panel, that'll just help us keep track of them if you do have any.
And here's the thing. This presentation is more of let's start thinking about these concepts. Let's start thinking about how assessment and even instructional design can be done in a different kind of way. So while it might not be, I mean, you might be able to take something and implement, especially in discussions, just keep this around. Think about it for course development time. It'd be a very interesting way to provide some engagement and motivation in your courses. And guess what? At the same time, you sneak in the assessment part.
Point to, you know, you mentioned earlier that a great time and place to implement this at PCC Online is during the development process. And that's obviously different for all of the different courses and the different disciplines. But I know that a lot of folks right now are doing kind of a group thing where they're involving a lot of different instructors to get their input about what they want to see in the courses before they're redeveloping them. So that, just like you said, Kay, that's a great time for you guys to suggest something like this if you don't see it in your courses. So we may not have any questions. This is okay. You did a great job. It was really, really inspiring to see all that stuff and see all the people that are already doing it. It seems like a really new thing. It does look like Karen here has her hand raised. Karen, do you have a question that you would like to ask? I'd be happy to pass you the microphone if you do. Oh, Karen was wondering if we could get the PowerPoint slide.
Yes, yes, I'll send it to you, and I'll send a list of the links too. Because, like I said, when I did this at the conference, it was much more we had the computers in front of us, and so yeah, I think sending the links might also be useful.
Definitely. Well, this was great. I hear a lot of people talking about badges, and I think they just don't necessarily know how to get started implementing those. So this was really great to have a lot of resources and places to go. I know that I am excited myself to explore those even further.
Okay, then thank you guys very much, and have a great start to your semester.
Thank you, Kay.
Okay.